I have some people to announce. Six so far. They'll follow you up to the edge of 25 there and to 32. Okay. Yeah. Great. So those of you who actually entered into the RBC table for the Bicycle Thief restaurants, it's the Bertossi Group restaurants. Many of you know that I am also a food critic and I write for a curated magazine. They're all very good restaurants. Robert is over there to be able to give you your prizes. Natalie Harb, Julia Short, and then I have a special announcement because I'm going to buy a lottery ticket with this person. So Shira Feingold is here, and she actually also won the Nova Scotia Health recruitment bag here too. So she won 2 prizes instead of 1, okay, out of the so big round of applause for that. And thank you for those in RBC Wealth Management. Also from CPA, CPL CPA, the $100 gift card. The Visa gift card goes to Shima Karmi. So big round of applause for her. Did well. Okay, folks, this, as you know, is orientation 15 for me. And as I say always with Sandy, who is the CEO of Maritime Resident Docs, we're getting long in the tooth, aren't we, on this, right? How this afternoon is going to work is usually we're actually in the other theater, but because we have such a large group this year, they usually have like a question and answer system. But this year I decided that we'll do this sort of kind of manually, like an auction, where you have a number in front of you. And so if you have any questions, because this usually is predominantly a question and answer session, you raise your hand and then I will put you in a priority sequence. I will point to you to note that I actually have your number, and then you can put your sheet down. Okay, but without further ado, please welcome and put your hands together for Sandy Carew right here. By the way, I'm going to be distributing these cordless microphones to people. So if you can be so kind as to distribute them to the next person who is going to be speaking.
Of course.
Perfect. Very well organized as usual, Charles. Hi, everyone. As Charles said, my name is Sandy Carew, and I'm your CEO. And welcome everyone to the Maritimes. Those of you who are from here and those of you who've come from away, we're happy to have you. Can everybody hear me okay? Good. It does seem like a wide room, so hopefully I'm getting all the corners. First thing I want to do, oh, I hit the wrong button clearly. I hit this one. Is that mute? Oh, okay, it's back and forth. Yeah, that should have put my glasses on. Perfect. Except it's still working.
Oh, sorry, I'm on that. Okay, now.
Okay, thanks. Before I get started, I just want to make a couple of little announcements or notices, and then I'm going to go through my presentation. Hopefully it'll be a lot of helpful information from you. I know a lot of people have been reaching out with questions ever since you've matched or found out that you're coming here. So we try and answer most of them today. It's hard to do on an individual basis, get everybody. First of all, I want to introduce our team who are standing over there by their booth. Realizing now that you're far away, so I'm just going to announce. We have on the end Daniel Bonner. He's our communications manager, so he would have been sending you all of the welcome to Dal, we're happy you've matched here information, many emails, and you'll receive many more throughout your residency. Next to Daniel is Leanne Drake, and she is our health and wellness manager, and she handles all the benefits plan, and also Leanne's the fun person who handles all of our special events and all of our wellness initiatives. So she's the one who's always got the drink tickets and the giveaways and all the good stuff. She's got more money than me. And then we have Christy, who is our financial coordinator, and she's a little behind the scenes doing all of our finances and helping residents get reimbursed for expenses. And then we have Verly Tyson. She's our administrative manager and Both Christy and Verly have been with us for over 15 years. And Leanne's coming up to almost 25 years, which is hard to even say because I look at her and think, are you even 25? But we had her for a long time. And even Daniel, our newest, who's the new kid on the block, has been here for 10 years. So, and I'm not going to say how long I've been here, but I was about the same age as residents when I started. So I'm like closer to retirement than anything else. I only mention that for all of us because we've been here for a long time, and chances are we've answered all your questions. Every now and then I'm always surprised when someone comes to me with a question that I haven't had before. That's very, very rare, few and far between. So if we don't get to everything today and you realize later you have questions, feel free to reach out to any of the staff and we'll be sure to help you. I'll wait till the end of the presentation and just make an announcement about the boat cruise and some of the other things. But if you haven't made it over to our table yet, we just set up at lunch. So we've just been here since noon. And it's important that you check in. If you want to go on the boat cruise, you need to check in, and for your benefits and for the information sheet. So, and once you check in, your name will go in for a prize. So if you get a chance to sneak over while I'm talking, that's fine. So basically, Mardocs, you've heard of us. I know I've had a chance to present to some of you the DAL Med4s back in the spring. Basically, we're your resident association, and we've got a staff, a board, lots of committees and liaison positions who are working hard on your behalf. So we ensure that we have resident representation on all kinds of committees at DAL and in the hospital to ensure resident voices are heard. So lots of advocacy on a number of issues all the time. And this is Leanne's gig again. I put a few pictures in there to give you an idea. We do lots of events throughout the year. And we have a position on our board who is the wellness chair. And we have a fairly large events budget. We're kind of lucky here because I'll get into finances later, but as you know, it's a dues funded organization. So you'll be paying dues to Mardocs. But in addition to that, we're fortunate enough to have a couple of trust funds that we access money. So we have a lot more fun stuff and a lot more events than a normal provincial resident association would have. And for those of you who are off-site, don't worry, we have a budget for each site and lots of opportunity to plan events and get-togethers to get to know each other. We also run a healthy resident program, which is another external source of money that we've tapped into, where we provide a budget to each program to do some wellness and team building within your program. So you'll likely see something happening there once you're on your home service. Essentially, everything that we do kind of falls under wellness to a certain extent, including any policies that we help create or work on, and the negotiations of our collective agreement, which, very excited, by the way, we did get a new agreement in place. So we're super excited about that. Yeah, really good. I know. I don't like to brag, but it's amazing. We're highest paid in the country. We have been for probably 15 years now, and we really got a good gig going here in the Maritimes. So you'll be so happy that you matched here. Not only is our association fairly large and we do a lot of activities, we've had a really good relationship with our governments and some successful negotiations. This isn't meant to intimidate, but you probably have heard by now that you've made it this far that in addition to your Monday to Friday week, you're going to have a lot of calls. So I always found that one a little bit funny. So yay, we have our new contract, and I'm going to go through just a couple of highlights, a couple of main things that are important for you to know getting started. One is around work hours. So as I mentioned, in addition to your regular Monday to Friday work week, this is probably better. I don't think I need to be that close. We also have a call maximum, which is up to 1 in 4. So if you're on a rotation-based service, which usually most PGY1s would be, unless you're at a longitudinal site, that would be a maximum of 7 call in a 28-day block. So when you're on call, if you're on in-house call, you automatically get a post-call day the next day, so you would leave by 9 a.m. So that's usually counting 24 hours of service and a 2-hour handover. If you're on home call, you may not necessarily need a post-call day, but if you are called into the hospital overnight, or if you're up most of the night answering calls, you'd be eligible to take the post-call day as well. And you can, some of these things, once you're on service or once you're in your program, you can talk to your colleagues. And, if you're finding out that you're not getting access to the information or what to do, either speak to them or feel free to reach out to Mardocs. We do have a new clause in our agreement that I've added in. We weren't really excited about it at first, but I think that it's something that the employer really wanted, and it's called evening shifts. And so the idea behind it is that residents could work like 3 to 11 as an example, and then that would replace your work during the day. So if you think about call, you come in and work all day Monday, you're on call Monday night, and then either working or post call on Tuesday. An evening shift, you'd be off Monday and just work 3 to 11 Monday night. So you wouldn't have a post call day the next day. And that would be called an evening shift. I don't want to spend too much time on it because from what I can tell, there's probably 2 programs that are using this. So it may not be something that you see very often, but it is something new in our agreement that they're implementing. Also take note that call is prorated for time off. So if you're on a 4-week rotation or in a longitudinal program, the calendar month, if you take a week off, instead of doing 7 call in 28 days, you would do 5 call in the other 3 weeks that you're on service. So it's prorated whenever you have a scheduled leave. And then there's also a maximum of 2 weekends per block that you can be scheduled for call. So if you're, it may look like, so a lot of programs tend to do maybe 1 weekend of Friday, Sunday call, and then 1 weekend of Saturday call. Again, longitudinal programs a little bit different because you're always doing all kinds of different things. Your weekends could be a full shift in the emerge all day, Saturday or Sunday, or a call overnight. Your schedule should be sent out 4 weeks in advance. I think most services are pretty good at this, but there are some that struggle. So you should get your call schedule sent to you 4 weeks in advance. And if that time has passed and you haven't received it, I just tell residents, reach out to the service. Sometimes the chief resident or whoever is doing the schedule for that service may not have gotten your email right or may not know who's coming to the service next block. So always good to check in. And also, it's good to check in with the next service ahead of time for those reasons, but also if you're on call, say the last 2 weekends of a block, and then you switch over to a new block, well, you wouldn't really want them to put you on the first 2 weekends. So our contract says you can do no more than 2 consecutive weekends. So if you do the last weekend of a block, you should reach out and let the next block know before they do their schedule that you shouldn't be scheduled for more than maybe 1 weekend in the beginning. So some of these things are not necessarily known, and it's just an extra little tip to help you get your schedule in advance and not have to have them redo the schedule if they've put you on for maybe a 3rd weekend in a row. And then, of course, everything I say is different for emerge. So if you're ever on an emerge service, it's all shifts. None of this stuff applies in terms of work hours. I think they have, I could be wrong, but I feel like it's 17 shifts per block, could be 16. And some of them do self-scheduling, and it probably varies around the Maritimes, but that would be a completely different set of rules. And that's all in our contract. Just another example of some of the events that we do. I've scattered some pictures in there just so that you can see. We try and do a variety of activities so that we appeal to everybody. So you'll see some recreational or sporting things that we do, like golf or curling or rock climbing. We also do some artistic events. We'll do like paint night or flower arranging workshops, lots of social get-togethers that may be holiday themed. So if you're new to the Maritimes and you want to get to know some fellow residents, you should come out to some of our events. So also while I'm on the contract, I just wanted to mention that there's a couple of resources available. If you are finding that you're having some difficulties on a service that they're saying they're putting you on for a 3rd weekend, or they're saying you're not allowed to have your post-call day or whatever it may be, we do have a section on our website where you can confidentially just report the service you're on and what's happening. And it doesn't necessarily trigger any action. We would never reach out to your program about anything that's happened to you without talking to you. So the information will usually just come to me, and I would reach out to the resident and we'll figure out if there's something we can do to help it. But it also helps us keep track of issues that are happening if they're happening in the same program or on the same service. We have ways that we work with the program directors and the chiefs to try and fix that. In addition to that, we have, Dal probably mentioned it, but Dal's website has a reporting system where you can report positive or negative behavior. And then, of course, they also have Resident Affairs and the Office of Professional Affairs, which I know they both spoke to you this morning. So just a couple of resources. You may not need them now, but you may find in your residency at some point you may need to reach out. There's another event, as I mentioned, always lots of fun. So this is the section that I sometimes get a lot of questions about. But before I proceed, I'm just going to check in and see if there's any questions about what I've mentioned so far around hours of work, call, evening shifts, that sort of thing. Any questions? We could be out of here in 10 minutes, Charles.
I know.
So the next thing that's helpful for you to know related to our contract are things like your vacation and your holidays. So every resident gets 4 weeks of vacation, and that's great. And we encourage everyone to take their vacation each year because you're not really supposed to carry it over. There is a clause that says if you were unable to take it, you can carry it over. But programs are very hesitant to sign off on letting you carry it over. And I always say chances are if you didn't find the time in your first year, you're not going to find the time in the next year or the year after to start piling up 5 or 6 weeks vacation. So try and use your vacation for your own wellness, but also to ensure that it doesn't get wasted. And most people tend to take them in maybe 1 week blocks, but they don't necessarily have to be that way. And some programs may have their own policies on vacation. So you should check with your home service or the service you're on if there are any. And also, I don't know if it was mentioned earlier today because it's a DAL policy, but vacation requests have to be in 3 months in advance. And so I mention it to you today because I do hear from residents towards the end of the year in the spring that maybe they couldn't take all of their vacation because they left it to the end of the year. So I know you're just starting now on July 1st, and the last thing you're thinking about is maybe vacation already before you start. But you got to book 3 months out, and you want to start looking now to book something in the fall. Because if you don't book in the summer and then the fall rolls around and you think, well, I got a week off at Christmas, I don't really need vacation. You're heading into January trying to take 4 weeks at a period of time when you've got seniors taking study time, seniors taking exam time, everybody wanting spring break to go away. You got people who are finishing, taking time off in June, really hard to get time off in June. Anybody who's finishing, who's going to be moving to another country or across Canada, may take time in June. So I find a lot of people get denied in June. So if you leave it, you may not get it. And you really want to stay on that for your own wellness. In addition to the 4 weeks of vacation, we have all of the regular stat holidays. I think we're up to 11 now in our contract, but pretty much all the usual. So Canada Day is a holiday. Way to go, Dal, for starting on a holiday, just to confuse everybody. I think I mentioned in my checklist that we sent out to check in with the service that you're starting on, because I think everybody does it different. Someone could have you on call on Canada Day if you're starting on a certain service, or they may say Canada Day is a holiday, just show up Wednesday morning for work on the 2nd. So important to check because not all services are the same. And so you either get the holiday, it would work like a normal holiday if Monday's a holiday for natal day. If you're not on the call schedule or you're not scheduled for that day, you just take your holiday. If you are working any part of the holiday, you get a day off in lieu. And so usually there's 2 groups of residents. If Monday's a holiday, whoever's on call Sunday night from midnight till 9 is the holiday period. So you would get a lieu day for being on call Sunday night. And then whoever comes in on the holiday on Monday to relieve, working on that day would also get. So usually there's 2 shifts, shall we say, the Sunday night and the Monday in that example, who would get a lieu day. And in our contract, it says they need to be taken within 60 days. So if you are working Canada Day or Natal Day or Labor Day or any other holiday, you need to put in a request to get your day off in lieu. And so the hard cutoff is within 60 days, but I usually encourage people try and take it on the service that you didn't get the holiday because they remember that they didn't give you the holiday. So if you show up to the next service looking for a day off and you haven't even worked a day there yet, they might be a little bit like, okay. So although you are still entitled, I encourage people to take it and then it all balances out on that service. It's not an extra day missed. We also have a holiday period over at Christmas that the hospital calls an operational slowdown. And so residents get 6 consecutive days. And so that's not part of your vacation. So it's almost like a 5th week. But it is a compilation of some of the holidays that are listed at that time. And so every resident will get 6 consecutive days. And it has to either include Christmas Day or New Year's Day. And usually what most services do is they just divide it in half. Half of our residents get the first 6 days, that includes Christmas, and half the residents on service will get the next 6 days. And so you may want to reach out to the service that you're going to be on over the holidays and find out when are they making that decision as to who's covering which, or do you have an opportunity to ask for one over the other? Services might be pretty flexible there. And if you have young children and you really want Christmas, or if you want to go home and you really want New Year's, they might be able to accommodate that. The one thing to keep in mind is you don't get lieu days for the holidays that fall. That's already covered in your 6 days off. So there's 3 holidays that fall over that period: Christmas Day, Boxing Day, and New Year's Day. And so those 3 days are covered in the 6 days that you'll get off consecutively. So a lot of times people look for lieu days after the fact, but you would have had that when you had your 6 days off. And then there's also something kind of new, maybe 4 or 5 years, that we have flex days. And a lot of people, actually they're called float days, I think officially in our contract, but a lot of people call them flex days. So that's just 3 days that you get, kind of personal days throughout the year. You just need to put in a request for it and see if you can get a day at shorter notice. So as I mentioned earlier, if you want to book vacation, you often need to get it in 3 months in advance. These are meant to be taken a little bit shorter notice. If it turns out that you just found a new house in August and you've bought it and you need a day off to move in or for the closing or whatever, you should be able to ask that service and just give as much notice as you can. It is still possible to be denied if it's a really busy service and there's already like a resident or two on vacation that week and they may struggle with giving it. But I usually work with the programs and encourage them to try and give a day when they can. And so if they do have to deny it because there's something going on that day that half the residents are going to be at and they can't give you the flex day, that they should provide an alternate day and be able to give you a float day. So those are just extra days. We do have other days in there that I'm not going to get into, but any kind of sick days, there's time in our contract. We also have educational days. So usually your program will give you time to go to conferences or go on a course or take some educational time. And then when you're in your final year, when you get to exams, there's study time. So there's other leaves in there as well. Anybody have any questions about any of these days off or anything that I might not have covered? Does feel like an auction.
Anybody got a question there? 162, 162. Got a question for 162?
$50,000. Feel like Oprah.
Do I get a car? I just have a question about the Christmas holidays. And so my understanding is we have to submit our vacation requests 3 months in advance. Is that the same for the Christmas holidays that we, okay.
No, it's not. Christmas holidays, you'll be told when you get your 6 days, you'll either have 6 days at Christmas. So usually, depending on how the calendar is that year, if Christmas falls on a Monday, say the 25th is on a Monday, they usually will say, okay, we're going to give from the 22nd to the 28th as the first block, the 29th to the 3rd, or whatever it works out to for the second block. And so you'll be told, and as a PGY1, you may or may not get your first choice, but I would encourage you to reach out to whatever service you're on and ask, when will you know, am I the first group getting Christmas off or am I the second group getting New Year's off? And if they're giving you a choice, they may try and do what people want. So they may give you an opportunity to say what you'd prefer.
So when am I reaching out?
Whenever you want.
Okay.
Really, whenever you want. Earlier might be better. You could be keen and reach out now. The chief on that service might say, haven't even thought of that yet. Call me in September, but it wouldn't hurt whenever you think you're ready. I'm doing a chief resident session on Monday, and I talk about this and say by August, September, you should be thinking about Christmas and making sure residents know which one they have because they may be booking flights or whatever. So not unusual in August to be asking about that.
Okay.
Maybe not July 1st, your first day, but
whenever Good way to make an impression.
Yeah, if you know what service you're on, anytime really.
And sorry, my next follow-up question, am I emailing the program director who's scheduling me, or is it always a chief resident, or it varies by?
It varies.
Okay.
Yeah, usually I would probably start with the administrative person. Usually each program has a program admin. And I would start with them. They often are the ones who do the schedules, or they would let you know who the chief is and put you in touch with the chief. I wouldn't start with the program director. They probably won't have a clue.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I'm glad you asked a question. Do you still have more?
No,
Okay.
not yet.
Because I did forget to mention, for those of you who don't celebrate Christmas, there is also a clause in our agreement that allows you to take the 6 days at another time. And so in the same way that people who celebrate Christmas get either Christmas or New Year's, and you're not really guaranteed to get the one you want, you have to request 2 different options and they will give you one or the other. So if you know other times of year that you want to take some time off to celebrate your own holiday, you can put a request in for that. And so that essentially means that you are not taking the 6 days at Christmas, that you're taking them later. And I feel like I haven't had a lot of issues around that. So I think most programs are pretty open to saying, okay, you can have 3 days for this holiday and then your other 3 days for this holiday. Because I don't get a lot of feedback that doesn't work. So I think it's pretty good that you can get your 6 days at another time. I will say, though, that because there is an operational slowdown that happens in December when everything is kind of running at minimal, they won't allow you to do that unless it is for religious or cultural reasons. You would have to say that you're celebrating another holiday. You can't just say, I choose to work Christmas and take time off later. You would have to, I don't even know what kind of proof they would want, but it's supposed to be for a specific reason to celebrate your own religious holiday. So hopefully people who need that can get it. Yeah, it's 3. All right, we'll go 40. 67, you want another one?
Hi, I heard somewhere that whether you take the days off and they straddle the weekend or you take your days up leading to the weekend, it can affect how that's counted as days off or vacation days.
Yes,
Can
if
you
you're
speak
putting
to
it,
that?
yes, I can. That's a good question. If you're putting in for a week of vacation, 1 week is 7 days. And so that would include one weekend or the other. And so if it matters to you, if you want a specific weekend off, you would put that in your request that you would want it to be from Monday to Sunday or from Saturday to Friday, whichever weekend. Probably not as a PGY1, depending on your program where you're moving around a bit. But as you get up into higher years and you're on your home program, they may try and give you both weekends on either end. Just one will be your regular weekend off and one's your vacation. But right now, where you're going from service to service, I find PGY1s, you need to be specific and ask for which weekend you want. And chances are you'll probably be working the other one. So you want to get that in your request.
So it doesn't matter. What if you took like Friday through until Monday?
That would be 2 weekends. And so your 1 week vacation only includes one weekend. So you could be on call one of those weekends. So you need to choose which one you're asking for off. Once you've chosen which weekend you really need off because you're going to a specific, wedding or whatever, then you want to put in the weekend that you really want off. But then you can also talk to the service and say, I'm taking that week off. If there's any chance that one of my normal weekends off can be the weekend before, that'd be great. But like I said, that's hard when if you're on a service that's super busy with just a few residents, they may not be able to accommodate those requests. But if you want to guarantee it, book a flight, have the time in stone, you have to pick out which weekend you want, and you don't automatically get both.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah.
67. You want
67?
Yep, down there.
There we go.
Good system, Charles.
Hi, sorry if this is a weird question, but let's say like every 3 months someone's getting a medical procedure. Does that count towards their sick days, or like how does that work? Because
If it's a medical procedure, probably would be sick time. You'd have
Okay.
to talk to the service you're on about, like, often a sick day is when you kind of wake up sick and you call in sick or whatever. But if it's a pre-planned, like a procedure, just let them know in advance that you need it off. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
Thank you.
And they would just have that as either sick days or like a medical appointment. Yeah.
Okay, hi. My question is regarding vacation. We have 4 weeks of vacation. Can we take it all as a lump sum? Like, can we take the whole 4 weeks together?
Well, it may be a question for Charles, but typically no, because if you're on a rotation, you have to, like if it's a 4-week rotation, you could only take 1 week. 1 week of 4 to get the most of that. You wouldn't be able to, you'd have an incomplete rotation if you took more than 1 week off of a 4-week rotation. But if you do have, I feel like, Charles, there were special circumstances where way back, like there'd be 13 blocks in your PGY1. And if someone wanted to go home to their own country,
what
or
you do is you take the last week of a block and the first week of the second block, and so that way you only have 3 weeks on each of those blocks.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's no way to do the 4 weeks then.
No.
I think years ago you were able to take a full rotation off, but you
If
have.
it's an elective.
Okay. All right.
That's the one thing. Somewhere in your senior years, then you can be able to take a block off.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you'd have to line it up to be the last week of one rotation, first week of another, or when you get into more senior years, sometimes you're on a 2-month rotation and you'd be allowed to take 2 weeks on that rotation, or you're on a 3-month or a 6-month rotation. So it's not an issue.
And if
Oh, sorry.
Yep. Go ahead.
and if you have holidays falling on the vacations you have requested, so if I'm taking a 1-week vacation and probably let's say there's a Labor Day falling on that vacation, is that holiday count as my vacation, or is just a separate as a holiday?
It can be either, but you'd get the day back. So if you booked it as vacation, then they would put it back in your vacation bank, or you'd have a lieu day as if you had the holiday carried. So I don't know, some programs may do it differently, but either way, you still get that extra day. So you don't lose it. It would either just go back on an extra day vacation, or they would say, because it was a holiday, just take it in lieu sometime later in the rotation.
Okay. And my last question, sorry. The 6 days of Christmas holidays, you said we can either take it for other religious holidays. Can we take that prior to Christmas, or is it has to be like after the Christmas has passed?
It doesn't have to be after Christmas. It doesn't specify. So if you want to take a holiday before then, just get the request in and let them know that you're not going to be taking the time at Christmas and you want to take it at that time. And it might be best to start with your home program on that and then coordinate it with the service at Christmas, the service in December, and the service during the time in which you're going to be taking the days off. Yeah. Yeah.
Skip the mic.
This is a follow-up question to one that was asked earlier. And just to clarify, for example, if someone had asked for, let's say, Wednesday through to a Sunday, have they used 3 vacation days or have they used 5 vacation days?
5 if you've booked to have that weekend off. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be 5. That's actually a good question, because a lot of people, they may treat it differently. So when we say that you get 4 weeks vacation, that does not mean that you get 28 working days. So you can't just take off 28 Monday to Fridays, like 3 days here, 2 days here, up to 28 days. It is 20 regular work days and 4 weekends. So if you want that to count as one of your weekends, then you're going to have a few weekdays left to take at another time. That again, like I said, it may work out on that service that they can give you one of your regular weekends off because you'd only work 2 in a month. They may be able to accommodate that, but they may not. So I always say put the weekend in when you're putting your vacation request in. If you're traveling and you're booking, you have to guarantee you have it. If you're just thinking, I need to use up my vacation, I'm not doing anything, I'm going to do errands and be around here, you could risk it and say, I'm going to just hope that's one of my weekends off and not use it. But if you need to have that weekend and book something, then you want to put it in your request. But yes, you'd be using one of your 4 weekends if you did that.
86.
Yeah, hi. You mentioned flex days and lieu days and then sick days. Can you just confirm how many sick days are we entitled to?
Well, we have a policy. The short answer is 90 sick days per year, which is not the norm. Most employers would give maybe 1 a month, so maybe 12 days a year or something. Ours doubles as a short-term disability. So ours is long, because if a resident were taking time off for medical reasons like a sick leave, but it was going to be lengthy, then they would go into what's called short-term leave. So anything up to 90 days. But usually if you take more than a day or two, if you're on a service and you're sick and you take a day or 2 of sick time, usually that doesn't impact your residency. But if you get into more than 3 or 4 days, then it's time away, and you'd have to make sure you're still getting enough time on service, or you'd have to redo that rotation likely. You could have your residency extended. So there are 90 days in there, but that's not saying that you can take 90 individual days. I think someone's going to track that and you're not going to be not going to be too happy with the outcome. So it's when you read our agreement, it is 90 days. So basically there's a generous amount of sick leave in there, but you probably will have to make it up once you get beyond 3 or 4 days.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, 139.
I think 73, no?
73. I don't think
Okay.
it's valid. Oh, sorry.
Hi, I was just wondering about the flex days. You said we can take them in a shorter notice. Can we take them in a row, the 3, or we have to separate them?
No, you do have to separate them. I'm glad you mentioned that. So you have to earn them. It's 1 per 4 months. So you get 1 for July, August, September, October. And if you don't take it, then it's gone. And then you get 1 for November, December, January, February. And if you don't take 1 in that period, it's gone. You can't carry them over, and you only get 1 per 4 months. Yep. And then if you were, say, on a mat leave and you only worked a part of the year, it would all be prorated. If you only worked 6 months, you might only get 1.5 flex days. So yeah, really good question. You cannot take 3 of them together.
I just had a question about the Christmas break. So are you not allowed to stack holiday time with that? Or would that be too much time off?
Probably too much time off. So DAL has a policy around vacation, and I believe you're not allowed to take extra time. So most of these questions I'm answering, assuming you're a PGY1 and assuming you're going to be going from block to block and they're only 28 days, you can only miss 1 week on any rotation. So you likely wouldn't be able to miss much more anyway, maybe a few days. But because they have an operational slowdown and the other residents are getting half the time off, they usually aren't able to accommodate any vacation. However, you'll see once you start, I mean, you're starting July 1st, so the 28 days are pretty much the month of July. As we get further on in the year, the rotations are kind of going mid-month to mid-month. So December's block, I'm not sure when the changeover would be. It's possible if there's a changeover that's around there, you might be able to take your 6 days off at Christmas. And then if the changeover is, January 3rd or 4th, the next rotation may entertain giving you some vacation, but it does specifically say in DAL's policy that you're not going to get vacation around the Christmas holidays because of everybody getting the time off.
And do we get to pick which 6 days we get? Like, is it like, let's say December 19th to the 25th, or is
no,
there
they'll tell you.
They'll tell us.
Yeah,
Okay.
they'll let you know. The best you can do is request. So whatever service you're on, reach out to them and ask. If you really want to get home for Christmas, ask if it's possible to throw your name in the hat to get the first block off.
Okay.
And then I'm assuming you'd be at the end of the list of priorities as PGY1, but you never know. Most people might be asking for the other off on that service. They might be able to accommodate it.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Need the whole day off. Have to use a vacation day, or would that count against our?
It definitely would not be your vacation, and you just need to work that out with the service that you're on. So again, I'd likely start with maybe the program admin and let them know that you have an appointment. We do have a clause in our contract called special leave, and that would entitle you time off for medical or dental appointments or emergencies that cannot be served by another person. So if you had a sick child you had to pick up from school maybe, or if you had a medical or dental appointment, so you just let the service know that you need time off for that appointment, and as long as they're tracking it and they know. And again, I always say the more notice, the better usually, so they can just not book people for the clinic or whatever the case may be.
Second question, how does the holiday period work for EM blocks? For example, are we still guaranteed the same amount of shifts?
Yeah, I feel like you kind of get burned in a merge, I have to say, because
You say that every year.
you know what? I really have discovered it's true, because our contract allows for, it's like hours. And so Emerge told me years ago that normally they would schedule everybody for 18 shifts a month, but they're going to reduce it to 17 shifts a month and not give any holiday days. So because there's usually 1 holiday per month, give or take, they basically say they schedule you for less time. So I'm questioning that, but really because they're under the limit for how many days you work, they can do that. So you likely will work a holiday if you're on Emerge, and it's just like any other day. It's one of your 17 shifts that month.
172.
So say you have a 4-week block and you already booked vacation for the last week of the block, but then say like week 2, you got sick and took 2 days off. Do you have to then cancel 2 days of your vacation because you're missing too much of the block?
No, but that's a good point. They do have, it used to be that Dal's policy was you couldn't miss more than 25%. And then started seeing this happen. What if someone had a sick day or someone had I don't know, whatever, an educational day or a float day. So Dal changed their policy to be that you can miss no more than 30% of a rotation. And so that gives a little bit of wiggle room for an extra couple of days for that block. So instead of 25%, it's 30%. However, I say that we've gone to competency based now, so the policies haven't exactly followed that yet, but it should be that time doesn't matter as much. But officially, you can miss a little bit more as long as it's within 30%. More than that, you may have to redo the rotation.
Good afternoon. I'm not sure you talked about it or I missed it. Anything on maternity and paternity leave?
Yeah, we do have that. So if you need to take a maternity or paternity leave, we have provision in our agreement for that. It's, well, Canada law would give you up to a year or 18 months off. So you definitely get the time off. And as a resident, we have a top-up program that you would get your salary topped up for, I think it's like 17 weeks. And then the rest of it, you'd be on straight EI. But in order to go on EI, you have to have built up time. So if you're coming in as someone who's about to have a baby soon, it might get complicated with EI unless you've had a previous job. So you definitely get the time off. The only individual differences might be payment, whether you're eligible for EI, which would make you eligible for top up. But if you're a resident and you've been working for a year as a resident, you would have gained enough time that you would get full EI and full top up. And same if you're if you don't want to take the maternity leave, there's parental leaves, which are a little bit less time. I don't even know, 20 weeks or something.
22.
Yeah, in terms of the 4 weeks vacation, does that start from like July to July, or is that the 4 weeks for 2025?
No, it's per academic year, so July 1st to June 30th. And I don't know how programs do it now. If you wanted to take a week of vacation in August, like you're supposed to ask 3 months in advance, I don't know how services do it for PGY1s. If you do want to take time off before the 3-month period, you could always try and find out. I should ask if Dal or anybody would send information out, because you're coming here. If you know you needed time off to get married or something, you should be able to request that before you actually start. But yeah, you could always try if it's within 3 months and you haven't had enough time yet.
7.
Hello. With regards to the time off, does this include any of the academic half days?
No, that's not time off. So that doesn't count towards your time away from a service. And that will vary depending on program. Like family medicine, you'd have your academic day and then you also have a half day back, I think. All of those things are not missed time. That's all part of your service and part of your program.
Thank you.
Hi, you partially already answered this, but for those of us who have kids, they don't always time things great when they get sick. You spoke a little bit about the special days off. Can you speak to the time you have to give, the policy around like giving the notice and any limits to the amount of time you can take?
There's not that much information in our agreement on that. We're not that specific. It's vague, but you're entitled to take time off for that, but it would just have to be worked out with the service you're on. So if you wake up in the morning and your kid is sick and you can't leave them, you would have to notify your program assistant or your, if you're in a preceptor's office, whoever you're reporting to, you'd have to let them know right away. And ask for the time off, and they should be able to give it to you. I don't know. I don't hear a lot that people don't get it when it's an emergency. The only issue is if you have a few of those days plus a few other days, it would all contribute towards missed time. So would affect the amount of time you're on that rotation.
So I'm just.
Any more online?
Yes, there are. Not online, but they're showing you the website here. It's our main page of our website. Under policies and guidelines, there is the vacation request form here, and it will sort of outline sort of the general policy of what each has, as well as your vacation request form to your program.
Does it tell people who to reach out to, like for different services?
Is
there a list
that-
anywhere?
That is in PGY. There's a second section here for the vacation conference request form for PGY 2 and up. Generally speaking, for PGY 1, it's your program assistant, but there is a service contact reporting list that they have. It's just being updated right now, and it should give you sort of a grid line of all of sort of
Who?
of who
Yeah.
of who to contact in space of a vacation.
That's good to know. Thanks, Charles.
63. Oh, that's 63. Sorry, 72.
Hi. Thank you for the presentation. I was wondering, is there a timeline on when we hear back? Like, say you submitted a vacation request. Are we guaranteed to hear back like within a month or whatever amount of time?
Yes, and that's something that's new. So it used to be a problem that you wouldn't hear back, but now they have to respond within 30 days. So even if you're asking for vacation for January, if you put it in now for January, they have to let you know within 30 days of your request whether it's approved or not. Yep. Yep.
72.
That was 72.
Oh, that's it.
Over there.
I was wondering who keeps track of our vacation. Like, we'll be making our own notes kind of thing, but if you're ever like confused how much you've taken or what counted as what, is there someone else keeping track of that?
My understanding is it's your home program.
Okay.
So whatever program you're in, when you request time off, it goes through your program and the service you're on, because your home program needs to know about all time missed.
Okay.
So your home program is the only one tracking you, although it would be tracked on the service you're on in case you missed a lot of time as well. But in terms of like your yearly limits and those things, vacation, all your own home program.
Okay. And I was also wondering for the Lou days, who tracks that and like how do you know if you're entitled to it?
Well, you're entitled to it if you work a holiday. So Lou days are a result of working holidays. So if you work Canada Day, it's a terrible example because you're just starting and some people are off, some people aren't. But once you're on a service, say for Natal Day, which is a holiday in August, if you're working on that day, you get a Lou day. And so I think that usually falls on a Monday. So if you're on call Sunday night, you would get a Lou day for that. Or if you're on call on Monday, you would get a Lou day. And that's all the service you're on, the service that you're missing it on. And then, like I said earlier, it's good to try and take the Lou day on the same service because they know they had you work the holiday. But technically, you would have up to 60 days. So you could go into September and ask for a Lou day then.
And so for our colleagues that are working on Canada Day, if they had like an orientation that day or call, that would count as well?
Yes. So if you are working on Canada Day, you would get a day off in lieu. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi again. I'm just going to ask more about the maternity leave. When does that start or apply, especially the 17 weeks top up? Is it when the delivery happens or if you are taking vacations earlier before you actually deliver?
I think that your start date of your maternity leave would be either on the date you deliver or the due date, whichever is earlier, like whenever you start your time. Some residents may take some sick leave in advance if they are not well enough to work, or if you booked some vacation before that, you could. It's just one of those, you don't know when it is. So whenever you start, you would determine the date. It's usually your due date or the date you have the baby, whichever's first.
If you've made your 3-month advance request for days off and you get that, and then for some unforeseen circumstance you wish to cancel your vacation, can you cancel your vacation time or are you locked in?
I'm actually not sure. You'd have to check with that service. They would have to approve it or not allow it. So I would assume they would let you take it back. But if it's very short notice and they've already made other arrangements or something, maybe they wouldn't. I've never heard of anybody not getting it back. So I'm not sure if that's something that happens a lot. You could always try. And again, always my rule is as early as you know, is more notice is better. So if you do book a week now in January and things change and you know in November, let them know then and ask if you can take it back. Yeah. There's nothing in our agreement that would make them give it back, but I think most would. I would assume they would give it back.
132.
Hello.
Sorry, I should know where the numbers are, but
right
I
back
don't.
there, back row.
If you go away on a conference for educational purposes, does that count towards vacation?
No, you have education days, and I think it's 7. So again, that would be something that's coordinated with your own program. Usually it would be your own home program that you would determine your education days, simply because, I don't know, if your home program is plastic surgery and you want to go to a plastic surgery conference, like I think you would go through your home program. But you would have to let the service know that you're on it's always a double approval.
Okay, the second question, any sport contests or tournaments for Mardocs?
Is there any what?
Sport contests or tournaments?
Tournaments. We do various things. We have lots of fun stuff throughout the year. If you're based here in Halifax, we have yoga nights every Tuesday night at Halifax Yoga. We do a boot camp every Sunday morning with, to say I haven't been to that one. Where's the boot camp? It's with Evolve Fitness. And then we also usually, Leanne's doing multiple events at a time. So she'll usually get group tickets to like Moosehead Games or the Wanderers Soccer, and we put it out there and have residents sign up. And if you're based at another site, there's a budget given to that site. So usually the residents can decide what they want to do. We did have a league a long time ago, but it was really difficult because residents never knew if they could commit to the time. So I think we had entered into a soccer league, but we'd end up defaulting sometimes if the people who had signed up couldn't make it because of call. So we kind of have gotten away from that, but we definitely provide a lot of opportunities every month to get involved in activities.
While we're on the topic of sports, I was wondering if, as residents, we get a Dalplex membership, and if not, what kind of rate do we pay? Is it full-time, part-time, or co-op?
And so what you should be receiving is what every student should be receiving. It's just that you're off cycle. And so it's an administrative nightmare upper campus in order to actually be able to do that. On it, we will notify you all. That is, as well as the bus pass starting September.
Okay. Yeah, I hadn't heard about the bus pass. People have asked. I do think that if this doesn't come through, in the past, they at least had a discounted like family rate. Yeah.
Like if you're the black keys of the piano because you're sort of like a student, but you actually are being paid. So you're on this sort of special status, and we are like the only office in the campus who actually handles our own registration apart from the rest of campus. So this is why we're trying to fight for you to get some of those benefits.
That'd be great. You're going to find that with everything. Residents are the exception for everything that you're going to do now. Oh, everything. It's unbelievable. At Nova Scotia Health, they'll announce this big program for all employees. You'll find out later, not residents. So it's just, you're always the exception to the rule. So check with Mardocs or check with Dal, but we're still always trying to push for it.
I think there was just a follow-up in terms of, is there a timeline for finding out about bus passes or anything like that?
In Halifax Transit has instituted the new online app. So now you can actually buy things digitally because they were only asking for cold hard cash just about a year ago. And so forth. The only problem is if you do buy it online and on the app, it expires after a year, whereas tickets only, if you do buy tickets, they will expire when they change the design, and they'll give you a year to use them before the design, after the design is changed.
Okay, and then just a question about if we're not in Halifax and we're at a remote site, would there be an equivalent of like a gym pass or some kind of thing that we could have access to?
Well, it depends where you're going. Some of them have it sweet. There's really nice gyms that are for residents only at a couple of the sites. So I find infrastructure, believe it or not, is better outside of Halifax, and residents are a good exception at the sites. You get free parking or things that nobody in Halifax would get. So it depends what site you're going to. Some of them will have their own gyms, or they may have arrangements made that you get to
just check in with our home sites and
Yeah.
figure out. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Area 49? All right, good.
Over here. This is good. I hope the questions are helpful.
Is ready.
I know. Daniel's doing the drive-through. I hope the questions are helpful for everyone, really, because they're probably questions you're all thinking. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm wondering if there's any reimbursement for the relocation or moving from other province to here.
No.
Through Mardocs?
No, there's no reimbursement from the employer or DAL, but when you do your taxes, I think you're able to put that in as a move. So you'd be able to follow whatever Revenue Canada guidelines on relocation for employment. We do a couple of sessions each year. We do a tax tips that you would have missed, but we did it before the tax season. I think in February, maybe. Yeah, you can access it online. We have a tax tip session that we do each year. And then this year, for the first time, we did 2 financial wellness sessions where we gave some tips and advice about things like that. So, yeah, well, the tax, it should be on is the tax tips on our website? Yeah, when it happens. Yeah. Every February we do it and we send it out to everybody. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi there. Can you please speak to up-to-dates or whether or not we have access to any other subscriptions? Thank you.
I don't know if you know that. I think everybody has access to up-to-date. Yeah.
They had a booth last year, but they didn't have this year, so I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
But I would just go to the MedEd office for that.
Yeah, my understanding is it is covered for everyone. So, yeah. I'll see if I can find that out and get it on our website too, if that's the case.
Hi. Not sure if you guys have talked about like contract violations much yet, but can you just walk through like if a service is giving you a hard time, like how that plays out, that sort of thing, especially number of call is what I'm curious about.
Yes, if you see that you have any violations, really reach out to me. I'd be the person to help you with that. But we have a couple of things. I usually coach people to maybe try first within your program. So if you get a call schedule that has too much call, you can let me know and I can help you, reach out to the chief or whatever. It is possible that there was an oversight. Sometimes we don't have any like across the board software that all programs use that would pick up on errors like that. So giving the benefit of the doubt, it could be an accident. So I would reach out to the chief or the program admin and find out about it or let them know, and then hopefully they would change it. But if you are having problems like they're ignoring your request to reduce your call to the allowable limit, reach out to me. And that's part of what I do, is help with that advocacy. I mean, we're very, very careful. Mardocs is an independent organization funded by you guys for dues. So we're not affiliated with DAL, as close as our relationship is, and we're not affiliated with the hospital. So when you have issues and you come to us, we will let you know who to talk to. And we would never bring your issue to an outside organization unless you want us to. So as an example, if you did have an issue on a service you were on, I mean, in a lot of cases, there might only be 3, 4, 5 residents on that service. And it's going to be obvious if I reach out to the service that someone complained, and it might be obvious who it is. So we would never do that. But we have ways that we work that sometimes if I see a violation in a program, I'll send a notice out to all program admins, reminding them that they are absolutely under no circumstances able to schedule people for more than the allowable. Like we'll kind of do it generically or as a group and try and work with issues. So yeah, bring it forward to me if there's any violations. I did mention earlier in the session, we have a confidential reporting system on our website. It's the contract compliance complaint form or something, some combination of those words. And it's confidential. It's not anonymous. It's confidential. So I will see your name and your email so that I can get back to you, but it goes directly to me.
Hi. I was just wondering if there's like a list of all the holidays that you can take a lieu day for.
Well, we have a list of all the holidays on our website. Are you able to bring up the website like you just did? Yes. See if you can bring up Maritime Resident Doctors. And Daniel might be able to faster. Yeah. There is a list of all the holidays, so you'll see which holidays you get. And as I said, I believe there's 11. But you get lieu days only if you work them. So you should get the holiday off. So if it's a holiday, everybody gets the day off pretty much, except those who are scheduled to be on call for that day. So in most cases, you would get your holiday. It's only if you're on call that you would get the lieu day. So if you work a holiday, you get a lieu day, but if you get the holiday off, you don't get any lieu day. So are you starting on July 1st, just as an example?
No, I'm not. I was just wondering, like, just to know
Which ones? Yeah.
which are the
right
holidays
here.
that count.
So it's in our collective agreement. And if you were watching on our website, yeah, those are all the holidays that we have. And so the collective agreement in full is on our website. And if you go there, you can download the full PDF of our entire contract to have for yourself, or Daniel has it set up by article, which is really good. So if you go to our website, you can say, I want to find out about vacation, scroll through, find the vacation article, click on it, and it's there. And this is under vacation and holiday. So pretty easy to find. Yep, those are the holidays. So don't assume you're off, but if you are off, then you just get the holiday. It's only if you're scheduled to work, and you know, there's always going to be someone scheduled to work, so it could be you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And I do recognize, I think we had an issue one year, New Brunswick. Is it New Brunswick or PEI? I think one of them doesn't celebrate it or doesn't have the day off. So if you're in that province, you're out of luck, because it does say for the province you're in. I feel like that might have got resolved, and maybe everybody might have it now, but when it was new, it was an issue. Yeah.
In regards to call, I understand the like rule as far as 7 call shifts per month. Is there any rules for shorter frequencies? I guess I'm asking, like, if I've been scheduled for a call shift every other day for like 8 days in a row, sort of thing. Like, are there any limits for how you're assigned call in shorter periods?
Yes, there is. There's a couple of things. That's a good point. We do have that you can do no more than 5 in a 14-day period. So that's a hard cutoff as well. So if they are bunching them up within 2 weeks, no more than 5 in 14 days. But also there are some services. It's not actually every 4th day, 1 in 4. It's a ratio and it's spread out. So you could be working random days. But some services, if it's home call, will put you on consecutive days. And so it works kind of for the benefit of residents. Like maybe I feel like it might be ENT, where instead of doing 2 weekends a month, where you do Friday, Sunday, one weekend and Saturday another, they say, just give it all. I'll do Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Because it may not be busy. This is just an example. That may not be the case for ENT. But they would say that you could work those 3 days and then your weekends are done. You end up getting 3 weekends off. That might be once you're on your home program. They do things like that more. You may not see that as much in your PGY 1 year when you're going service to service. But if you're on in-house call, you shouldn't be doing consecutive days. And just keep in mind that 5 in 14. So you should have a full post-call day if you're in-house. So it's only home call where you have a little bit of flexibility. And it's only because, sorry, I get into a lot more detail than you asked, but it just triggers things. If you are on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they have to have a backup in place so that if you do get slammed on one of those nights and you are up all night and you want to take advantage of call day, which you'd be entitled to, they would have to have someone cover for you. So they work that out amongst themselves. The only way you can do consecutive days is if you have that in place, just in case a post-call day is needed. That good?
Hi, over here. With regards to taking vacation, so you mentioned that it's 20 weekdays and then 4 weekends.
Yes.
Say, for example, if you had something that was just on a weekend, can you just request a weekend, or does it have to be in the form of like a week and an associated weekend?
Well, the answer is yes. However, a lot of programs have their own vacation policies. And so we don't kind of micromanage that. So our contract provides everybody gets 4 weeks. You may find that your program has some limitations. Some may require 1 week blocks only, and some may allow you to do a day or two here and there. So it may be dependent on the service you're on, what they allow. And we don't, unless it's something completely unreasonable, we don't get involved in that.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So you'd have to check with them. I don't know. I have a couple more slides. I think we're getting through the bulk of it, though. I can skip through a few while people are thinking. Oh, yeah. I get excited about this one. I know. Yeah. And so, yeah, thanks. I know. We've got a good contract. People are happy. So if you look here, the very first number, the 69,867, this isn't a pointer, that's what all the PGY ones who started last July 1st were paid 69,867. You're getting starting at 77,038. So that's a big jump. They did, however, get retro pay once we did settle our agreement that brought them up to 75,527. And so you'll notice as you progress through, you go up kind of 2 levels. So if you're a PGY 1, starting July 1st, 2025, you get 77,038. But next July, you not only go up to the July rates, but you go up a PGY level. So next year you'll be making 83.9. So that's the chart to show you how to figure out your pay. And our contract is 3 years, and we're already 1 year done because it took us so long. So we'll be negotiating again in a couple of years. And I find our contract is amazing. I may have mentioned that. However, not only because of our pay, we also have your final exam is covered, and we're the only province in the country that pays the 5,000 or 6,000 or whatever it is for your final exam. So you. Good, great. Oh, wow. Look at that. Everybody be nice to Charles. So it's probably not something that you're thinking about already, but when you come to write your final exam and you need to come up with a big chunk of money, it's nice to be able to bring those receipts in and get reimbursed by the employer. So really put that on top of your salary, and then you'll see how far ahead in the country we are. Residents who are starting July 1st in BC are getting paid 65,000. Residents in Alberta, 66. In Saskatchewan, 61. Manitoba, 62. Although in their defense, Saskatchewan's agreement is about 3 years expired. They're having real difficulty negotiating, so it's a bit old. And ours is at 76, which Pero was super excited in Ontario to get their salary up to 73, only to have us a month or two later springboard passed again at 76. But add your 5,000 for your final exam on top of that. Nobody else gets that. We also have CMPA covered. So we've got a lot of really good perks here. When we negotiate, we don't just look at salary. We look at other ways to get money into the contract. So that's a little comparison. I think we're nearing the end, but I want to bring this up because this often gives a lot of questions. So as a resident, you're paid a salary, the one I just told you. That covers everything that you do. It covers call, it covers shifts, it covers everything. That is your salary. You're now a salaried employee. So some people are paid hourly, some people are paid salary. You're a salaried employee. In addition to that, we have a call stipend, and all the provinces do. This isn't me bragging. Everybody has this. That you get an extra little bit of money as a stipend for when you work call. But that is not a legal mandatory payment. And I tell you that because if you miss the deadline to submit it, you don't get the money. And so the onus is on you to physically do what I'm about to tell you to get paid that money. And I always get residents who aren't listening at orientation or they forget, call me and say, I forgot to put my call in for the last 3 months. How do I get it? You don't. If you do not get it in, you miss it, you don't get the money. And there's nothing you can do. So I say that, but we have done a lot of advocacy over the years to try and make that a little bit of an easier process. So I see that there's questions. I just want to say a few words about this. You're paid biweekly by Nova Scotia Health. So no matter if you're based in New Brunswick or PEI or anywhere in Nova Scotia, you're paid by Nova Scotia Health as an employee. And then, sorry, what was on there, Charles? I was following that.
What? Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. Yeah, forgot what I was talking about. So you're paid bi-weekly, but you're only given the stipend quarterly. And so you have to go in every single month at the end of the month. It's not at all tied to your 28-day rotations. It's a monthly, July, August, September. And put your stipend in for the days that you've worked call. So at the end of July, you have to go on to the Dalmedics call tracker, which I'll get to, and you have to say, these are the days that I worked call and I worked in-house call or home call. You'll see there's a whole bunch that you have to do. You put all that in and you submit it. That gets submitted to payroll. and they keep that. And then you get paid every quarter, you'll get paid for those 3 months. So all of the call that you do in July has to be input into the call tracker by August 10th. All of the call in August has to be put in by September 10th. All of the call in September has to be put in by October 10th. So after October 10th, that's your first quarter, that all of that data goes to medical education. They audit it. So they go look at call schedules and make sure everybody's honest. This is an honor system, one of the few left in the world. So you have to be very honest with this because it's also tied to your professionalism and would have very serious repercussions if you tried to inflate that. So then it goes to medical education, and then medical education sends it to payroll, and it will show up on a paycheck sometime in November. So usually your first quarter, July, August, September, is put in by early October. And by the time all these processes happen, it's either your first or second paycheck in November when you'll see it. Unfortunately, it all goes on one paycheck, so it will be taxed based on all of that happening on one paycheck. But it should all kind of iron out in the wash when you do your taxes the following year, because they will take tax on that money. So keep that in mind. That's a really important deadline, and you're going to be upset in a few months if you miss that deadline. So we work really closely with Nova Scotia Health, and we've gone to them begging to say, can't we have a little bit of flexibility? So a couple of things that we've added to this system. One is there's reminders. So I believe you get 2 reminders. You'll get one at the very end of the month telling you to put your call in, and then you'll get one like 2 days before the deadline if you haven't put it in, reminding you that you haven't put it in. So if you're not getting those emails, that means your proper information isn't in the system. But you have to be on Dalmedics to do that. So those of you who are DAL grads, you'd be familiar with Dalmedics. But those of you who are new to DAL, DAL is in the process of adding you to Dalmedics now. You may not be on right away on July 1st. I've seen it as late as maybe 2 weeks into July before you're on the system, but they know they have to get you on before the end of July so that you can put your call in the system.
Your names are being submitted in right now currently.
Yeah, it should be very soon. And then, so when you go in on Dalmedics, there's a section across the top called applications, and you drop down, there's one called the call tracker system. And when you go in it, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's not difficult, but you do need to look through it the first time. The gist of it is a calendar pops up, and it'll be July, and you have to put in what days you've worked. So you hit a drop-down menu. So if your first call day is July 3rd, you click on July 3rd and say what service you're on. So it's whatever rotation you're on. You'll say like internal medicine. And then there's another drop-down menu where you put in-house call or home call. Those would be kind of your 2 main things. You're either on in-house call or you're on home call. However, the list is a lot longer than that. It's become complicated over the years. I always feel like I don't want to complicate it for everybody. But those are the 2 main things. If you're on in-house call, that's fairly self-explanatory. If you're on home call and you have a kind of an easier night, then you just get your home call rate. But there's an upgrade system. So if you're on home call and you do get really busy, there's a way that you can upgrade that to the premium for an in-house call shift. And that's all explained on the call tracker, and it's explained in our contract as well. And we have a document on our website under call tracker that explains a lot of that, because there's other models out there, and using internal medicine as an example, they have what's called a night float system. I think I have that after this slide. So there's all kinds of things. And if you're on an emerge rotation, or if you're an emerge resident, you're allowed to put in the kind of after hours shifts that you do on emerge and get the call stipend for that. That was how we were able to do a call stipend for people who were doing emerge rotations, but it would only be for those shifts that are after hours, like overnight or on weekends. Same way call would be overnight or on weekends. And then also, for those of you who might be at one of the longitudinal family medicine sites, you're doing a little bit of everything. And so you might have a lot of emerge shifts spread out over the weeks. And if you do one of those after hours, or if you're at your preceptor's office doing an evening walk-in clinic, because it's after hours, that would also be eligible. So it'll have a whole list. It'll say in-house call, home call upgraded to in-house call, night float, emerge shift, or what is it, weekend shift less than 4 hours, weekend shift greater than 4 hours. There's all kinds in there. It looks complicated at first, but once you get used to it, it's not that hard. And for the very first month, when you go in for the first time, if you say you're on internal medicine, it will then sort of fill in that month saying you're on internal medicine. which is great for most of the month. But if it switches mid-month, you just switch it, and then it would switch to the next rotation that you're on. So I hope I'm not complicating that. It is not a really difficult system, but you do have to figure out how to use it. And if you want to check out our directions that we have on our website, or once you do log into the call tracker, there's quite a few directions as you go. Yeah.
What is the take-home pay for PGY1 monthly after taxes?
No idea.
No idea.
Basically, you will have, we used to do a chart, but everybody, you know how when you're filling out your employment forms, you fill them out, everybody's kind of, your tax rate is, I don't know what your tax rate is, but I will say that you're going to get your gross pay, which will, be there on your very first pay stub. And you will have taxes deducted. You will have EI deducted. You'll have, which is employment insurance. You'll have CP, Canada Pension deducted. You will have your dues to Mardocs deducted. You will have your benefits deducted, which we're going to talk about in a minute. So if you're on a single benefits plan, you'll see the single rate deducted, or the family rate if you're on a family plan. So there's a long list of deductions. So I encourage you, and we do have that on our website as well. When you get your first paycheck, you'll have a pay advisement. And as an employee, you put in your employee number online and you can access your pay advisement through Nova Scotia Health, and you can see the breakdown. And then after that, you pretty much get the same pay every 2 weeks. Until you get a call tracker. So it depends how much call stipend. So it depends how much call you do. If you're doing the full 7 call every month, you're going to get a fairly big stipend on your first quarter. But some services, that's the max allowable, but it doesn't mean everybody's doing the max. I know, but it also doesn't apply to everybody. Yeah, those who are funded by military, you're paid by the military, and that's excluded. And those who are paid by foreign governments, your pay is arranged through the foreign governments. So this is only people on the Nova Scotia Health pay system.
Is there a pay schedule, like a list of things?
I would imagine we'd be able to access one off Nova Scotia Health. I don't have it. Yeah, I can see if I can find that out and we can put it out. Daniel can put it out in an FYI, maybe take note of that. Once you get paid, it's every 2 weeks, but they have a delay system. So I find July is always a bit awkward because it depends where they are in their 2-week system now. So typically you'd have to work 2 weeks before you get a paycheck, but because they have a delay, I feel like it's like closer to the end of July. So it might be the third week in July, or you might get one in 2 weeks, but it might only be a partial pay. Maybe 2 or 3 days fell into the system. So it used to be that Nova Scotia Health used to present at these, and they don't anymore. So okay, good. Yeah. Yeah.
So it is on that QR code that was given to you on your agenda, as well as a PGME orientation day website. So you are covered if you read all the resources there.
I can say that today was a payday. So you're going to get paid every 2 weeks, starting on whatever today's date is, every 2 weeks. And if you don't get it in the first one, like I said, you might have just missed the cutoff. You'll get it after that. So it's in my calendar. So you could use today's date.
Hi, that's back here. Sorry, my voice was very loud there.
Go ahead.
This is maybe more of a clarifying question, but in terms of like keeping track of your vacation requests and what we're actually taken out, I suppose, usually it's like available on payroll when you look in that and you see how much time you have left. Am I correct in saying that that would be where we could kind of
No.
Okay.
No, you're an exception to the rule again.
Okay.
So I tell you what it's going to say. It's going to say that you work 40 hours a week, which is going to piss you off when you're exhausted after 80 hours of work. So it's going to say that you're an employee. That's how they put in salaried employees, because it's not per hour. So it's going to say that you work 40 hours a week, and you know you don't. And then if you are not getting vacation, it's mandatory that they put vacation pay on there, but you won't get any vacation pay because you get vacation, and that would only be tracked by your own program. And this is where we're trying to work with, I've talked to Dr. Haroon about it just last week. It would be great to have a universal software. It would make sense that there was software that all vacations are in, and you could go in and look and see what service you're on, put in your vacation request. But it seems like every program is different. Some use 145. I don't even know what else people use, but it's only tracked through your program, and it will not be on your pay advisement.
And so as far as keeping track, just do it yourself essentially.
You have to do it yourself, or your home program should always know how much you have left.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Will you be speaking about our insurance coverage today? Wondering if a resident can decline disability insurance if we already have coverage in another province.
I will get to that momentarily.
Okay. 90.
Hi, yes, I have a question about the call stipends. So if you were on call on a Friday from 5 p.m. to the next Saturday at 8 a.m., does that count as a weekend call stipend?
If your call starts Friday night?
Yes, and ends at 8 a.m. on Saturday.
Yes. Yes. It starts at like 5 p.m. Friday right through to 8 a.m. Monday. So Friday, all Saturday, Sunday are all weekend.
Thank you so much.
I think I have, oh, yeah. Let me switch to another screen there. Yeah. Yeah. So if you are on call, this is moving on, which I'll come back, but these are the rates. So if you do weekday in-house call, it's 180. And if you do in-house on the weekend, which would be the Friday night, Saturday, or Sunday, it's 220. And then home call's the same, no matter if it's weekday or weekend. But yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Friday
yes,
night.
it does. Yes, Friday night.
Ooh, sorry. Is call also taxed, or is this just you're getting 180 extra dollars per
You're
shift?
getting taxed.
Okay,
You're
just
getting
wondering.
taxed. And that's why we've tried to advocate that it goes on your pay every 2 weeks, because you're going to get a big lump sum taxed probably at a higher rate because it's all in one pay.
Yeah.
But that's the best they'll do for us.
Okay. And then do you have to submit at the end of the month, or can you go, each day that you work call, you can submit your call?
Yes, you can. You can submit as you go. You can't submit until you did it, but you can submit as you go. So it might be worth it to go in. I actually started to go down that trail, and I think I stopped and talked about something else. But a couple of changes that we made, that was one of them. It used to be that you could put it in at the end of the month, but then you have that narrow window of 10 days to put it all in, and you could be busy. So we've changed the system so that as soon as you've done it, you can put it in. So we encourage people, why wait till the end of the month? Because if you do forget at the end of the month, at least you're only forgetting the last shift you did and the rest are in. And you can do a final submit, and that's what confuses people. There's a button in Dell that says your call, and you final submit it. You can final submit after every call if you want. So there's not only one final submit, which is kind of misleading when you say final submit. So I'd say go in every week, put in whatever call you did that week, final submit it, and then that's in if you forget. So that was one thing that we did. And then the other thing were these 2 reminders that now come from the system. And then the third and final thing is we've managed to convince them to give like one forgiveness. So we tell them that people come in, they're learning a lot on orientation day, they realize in August if there's a call stipend, whatever. Medical education says now that they will keep a list and keep track. And if you are late and you want them to submit it late because they'd have to override the system and put it in, they will do it once per residency. So if you do it next month, then you're done for the next 5 years or however long your residency is. A little amnesty list. I don't even know if that's what you'd call it, but I don't even like to advertise it, but it is good to know so that you do ask. So if you do miss it once, you can reach out and we'll get you sorted.
Sandy, I was handed a bulletin that July 24th would be the first pay for this group.
Okay.
It would likely be a partial pay because that's fewer than 28 days. But July 24th should be the first pay for this group.
Yep. So for those of you getting paid through Nova Scotia Health, which would be the majority, that's your first payday. And the only exceptions there are, as I said earlier, people who would be externally funded, like military or foreign government. Am I on there? Oh, another one of our little events. We brought coffee to all the hospitals and had a little mobile drift. Anything else on the call, tracker, or stipend? Was that the last of those questions before I move on to your benefits? If you think of anything later, I'll be sticking around. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's just confirming your first pay is going to be on July 24th and then every 2 weeks. And the July 24th might only be a partial pay if you joined midway. So I'm just going to switch gears and mention about your group benefits plan. If you haven't already checked in over at our booth, it's good to know a couple of things. But one is if you haven't filled out your benefits form, we have you on our list and we need everybody to fill it out. So benefits are mandatory. You're an employee of Nova Scotia Health, and so you have to be on the Nova Scotia Health Benefits Plan. And it's the academic year, so it starts July 1st till June 30th. So any benefits that are in there, if it says, you know, you get X amount for whatever, it's all for that year period. And the rates are, if you're on a single plan, which means the benefits are just for you and no dependents, you're going to pay $35 per pay. So that will come off your paycheck every pay. And if you have a family or a partner, you will be paying the family rate, which is $75 per pay. And that is not, you can have just your partner without kids, or you can have 6 kids. It's the same rate for family or single. You're allowed to waive that benefit. I think this might be answering the question that came in online. You're allowed to waive it if you can show proof that you're on another health plan. So if your spouse is a teacher or a nurse or whatever other, and they have a health plan and they have family, you can show us proof that you're on that plan, and then you can waive that coverage. However, you still have to pay the $12 for LTD, life, and accidental death and dismemberment. And so in answer to the question that came in online, even if you have private disability insurance, you still have to sign on to our group disability plan. And it's a different kind of plan than what you already have. And so the two work together. You are on a group plan where you would get paid 66 2/3 of your salary until age 65 if you were to become disabled, which is only 66% of your current resident salary. So it would be good for you to have an additional private disability plan to top that up, because if you were so unfortunate to become disabled, you would want to have more than just that percentage of a resident salary for the rest of your life. So it's mandatory that you're on our LTD plan and our life and ADD. So even if you do waive the health and dental, that would be with your spouse or partner, you'd still pay the $12 per pay for the other. And you will have received an email from Canada Life asking you to sign up for this. So you need to make sure that you've done that. And even if you didn't, they're still going to start charging you, and you need to get in there and get your information in there. And you'll be able to download and print a card that would be in your name, I believe, as the policy holder. And you can access Canada Life online. So a lot of that stuff will come directly to your email from Canada Life. So if you want to check with our desk and see if you've registered for the benefits plan, if you filled out so many forms that you can't remember if you filled out the benefits form, which does happen, check with us and we can let you know if we have everything we need. And if you haven't, I think we had a list printed off yesterday. Or the day before. So if you've registered in the last day or two, our information might be a little bit old, but you need to get registered for that. And we have a very rich plan. It's a great benefits plan. All the residents used to be on the Nova Scotia Health Plan, which is for everybody. But we managed to pull it out and have residents have their own plan, because in general, you're a very young, always the same age, average, healthy group. And so we get to provide more benefits for a lower cost. So we have our own plan for that. And yeah, if anybody has any questions about the benefits, I can try and answer them. And Leanne is our benefits guru over there, so she might be able to answer. If you haven't signed up and you find out, you'll still have to go through your email and find the email that you received from Canada Life. We can't register you, and make sure you fill that out. And your benefits take effect July 1st. So if for some reason you haven't figured out Canada Life or how it works, but you need to go get a prescription, that's the date it takes effect, even if all the dust hasn't settled and you haven't filled out your birth date or whatever's needed. You've got coverage starting July 1st. Bi-weekly, that's off every paycheck. Yeah. Anything I forgot, Leanne? Because you're gonna need the mic.
Okay, just due to the holiday though, the benefits, you might not have access to your group benefits plan. So you would have registered for that online when you activated your benefits, and you would have access to the member site. So you'll download a copy of your group benefits card, but you might not have access to that until about July 3rd or 4th, just because of the holiday. It just delays things a little bit. However, your benefits will be they will be backdated to July 1st. So if you do have to go to get a prescription, like Sandy mentioned, you just pay for it out of pocket, and then you'd be able to submit that for reimbursement after.
Yeah, the coverage is there.
And there was a question about LTD.
Yeah, I think I answered that. That was one of your online questions, but the answer was yes, you do need to do our plan as well.
Yeah, because any additional coverage that you have would just be a top up to your plan,
in
where this is the
addition.
employer coverage.
So some people do offer, do get additional disability coverage, and that would just top up your current group benefits policy.
Anybody have any questions about that?
No benefits questions?
I know. I'm just going to move along really quickly and see what happens. Oh, we got a question. The people online need to hear so that my answer makes sense.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, thank you. Are we allowed to use our benefits in a different province, or does it have to be used in Nova Scotia?
Yes. Works. Okay. Yes, you can use your benefits in another province. So basically what happens is whatever province you're living in and residing in, that your benefits are based on the provincial guidelines for that province. So if you're in Nova Scotia and this is where you're working, so it's based on the reasonable and customary charges for Nova Scotia. Generally speaking, the provinces are usually around the same amount, but if you went home because maybe you were from Ontario and you went home to get a dental procedure done, it might cost a little bit more there because the reasonable and customary charges would be based on your home province of Nova Scotia where you're working.
And you do need to have the provincial insurance. So if you've moved here, you would get either MSI in Nova Scotia or whatever, New Brunswick, PEI, wherever you're based, move your health insurance too.
Yeah.
Are they allowed to keep it
They're
there?
allowed to keep their, yeah. So if you have an OHIP card or if you have your home province card, you keep your card because you're regarded as a temporary resident.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you would just have to have your provincial health card, your provincial coverage in place first, and then you would
Yeah,
then
okay.
go
So it
through
can
your
be from any
group benefits.
province. Sorry. Okay. Yeah.
My question is, do we have anything about employee discounts, like for like hotels, restaurants, or anything like that?
We don't have anything. I think Doctors Nova Scotia does. They have an insurance and a couple of others, maybe like cell phone. And I believe Nova Scotia Health has one as well for insurance. So that would be on the Nova Scotia Health website as an employee.
And then say that you are a doctor and you probably will get a discount too as well.
Yeah. And your Nova Scotia Health ID would give you your ID. Yeah. I can keep going. We just have a few other announcements. So we've been waiting for you guys to start before we run our elections. So we make sure we do our elections in July every year. We have our annual general meeting on August 12th, and that is when we complete the elections of our new board. You may be familiar with this process if you were involved in anything with another organization. So if you are someone who likes to get involved, you'll see all the elections information go out next week, and you can put your name in the hat if you want to run for any position. The only ones that are already filled are the role of past president, which is Brett Els, and then our new president was elected in April. So she's president-elect, and that's Kathleen McMillan in radiology. And then we've also already elected our resident Doctors of Canada rep. So those three positions are full, but you'll see all kinds of information coming out in an email from Daniel next week. And if you want to run and get involved, you don't necessarily have to be on our board to be involved. If you're interested in a different area, you'll see some notices come out from me throughout the year. A lot of them seem to happen like September, October, when committees are getting back up and running after the summer. So if you want to get involved in recruitment or have a say, there's all kinds of committees. The Dalhousie Policy Committee, we make sure the resident voice is there. So you'll see lots of information come from us about ways that you can get involved. And then also, this is Daniel's stuff, but Daniel's our manager of communications, and you're probably already familiar with this email that he sends out. He sends an FYI, usually one a week or every other week as needed, with all kinds of information that's very important for you. We put notices from Nova Scotia Health, from DAL, it could be from Doctors Nova Scotia, it could be from CMPA, anything that's relevant to you. We weed through all that and make sure it's only the important stuff going out. Daniel's in charge of all that, and he puts a what do you call it? A digest style, where he's got like the list of what's covered. So you can scan the top list and see if it's anything that you're interested in and scroll through. And then we've got a great website. And if you see the last one on the bottom where it says collective agreement, that's where you can click, find out all kinds of information about our contract. There's also a tab there about your group benefits plan that has everything you need to know about benefits. Also social media. I'm going to let Daniel speak now, actually, because we have a social media contest going on.
Yeah, I think the next slide mentions the contest, but we're just on we're on Facebook, Instagram, the platform formerly known as Twitter, and so we're all on there. And if you go to the next slide, I think Sandy, next slide. Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry.
So we've got a contest up right now for everybody, a chance to win a $100 gift card. There's a post that I posted an hour and a half ago on all three platforms, Facebook, X, and Instagram. Just a very generic welcome post, 180 new residents starting on July 1st. If you go in and like that post, you'll be entered in a draw for a $100 gift card. And if you happen to be on all three platforms and you like on all three, you're entered 3 times. So I will draw after July 1, and it'll be a $100 gift card of your choosing. So please go ahead and do that. Find that post. Maritime Resident Doctors. We're very easy to find on all three platforms, Facebook, X, and Instagram. And I'll draw that, and it'll be probably in your first FYI that you'll receive right after July 1. I also have another prize for today, but I don't know if we're to that yet.
Sure, do it now.
Okay, so we also drew everybody who came over to saw us and saw us so far. We've sort of ticked your name off, and we just had a little basket prize. Where's that at? Is that over there? So our winner for that one was William McQuaid, Billy, I think, right? Hey, where are you at, Billy? Wave your hand.
See here?
Is he gone?
He just left.
Oh, okay. Congrats, Billy.
Maybe he's coming. Is he
We'll
coming
see if
back?
he comes right back. I don't know. Is he gone, or did
Doesn't
he
it
just
always
step
seem
out?
like that every year where they leave and then
Yeah.
We'll bring it
they
on the
win
cruise.
prize?
I don't know. We'll have to check the rules of the contest to see if he
Yeah,
still
do you have to
wins.
be
We'll
here?
see.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
We could be strict.
Yeah. We'll check it out.
Was that it, Daniel? I was
Yep.
only looking for my benefit
No, I'm
to see
done
what
there.
was left.
Yep.
The only thing is we've done most of the questions as we go, but I still have time for more. But I wanted to mention about our boat cruise. Really excited about that tonight, but I do want to apologize for the bit of the confusion. I think this has probably been the most confusing year we've had for our boat cruise. And there's a couple of things. One is that we don't have the boat we normally have. So we normally have a boat that can fit everybody. We've never had an issue. We've never had to have all these RSVPs. So this year we found out late in the game that there's a lot more residents than there has been in the past. We didn't know this is the biggest group we've ever accepted in. And also we're on a boat that has a lower capacity. So we realized we had to send out RSVPs, and usually what we do for our events, and so we did it for this one, but in hindsight, we've learned now we might not do that next year. Usually once you RSVP to say that you're coming to an event, like could be 3-4 weeks in advance, as we approach the date, we just confirm that you're still free and that you still want to go to the event, especially when room is tight. There's a limited number. So Leanne would have sent out that reminder. And then, so we've had a very organized on our end system, but probably complicated appearing for you guys. But we think that we're probably able to accommodate everybody just based on the way everything has fallen. Maybe not. It's a very tight limit. We're at pretty much capacity. I don't know if I explained that well, Leanne. Do you have anything else you want to add to that? You need to have the bracelet to get on the boat. There's fire regulations, so that's why we needed everybody to sign up and get their bracelet. Hopefully, everybody, I saw most people coming up and getting either one bracelet or two if you had one for you and your partner. But I did see some people coming up and their name wasn't on the list and we were keeping track. So provided that we get everybody who has a bracelet and there's some bracelets left, we might be able to get everybody in there. So check with our booth. Yeah, depending on what we have left. So I'm really hoping we don't have to turn people away. The other thing is we were always able to accommodate kids before, and this year, because of capacity issues, but also our boat cruises later from 8 to 10, and we have alcohol being served on the boat, so we can't have children. So this year was a little bit different. So next year, we're going to go back to having our bigger boat and invite everyone and none of this mess. So we apologize for that. But it's a really fun night, and you guys probably have the best weather. It's going to be, is it?
Yes.
It actually looks hazy as soon as I said that. Yeah. It's usually a sunny night. Yeah. Anything else to add to that, Leanne, about the boat cruise?
We appreciate your patience. We were just bombarded with lots of emails yesterday and it was hard to keep track. So basically, if you received a confirmation from myself yesterday that said there was a ticket allocated for you that said 1 or 2 tickets, depending on what you requested, and your name is highlighted in green on the form, then we can accommodate you. We're maintaining a wait list right now. And basically, we only have so many tickets. And like Sandy had mentioned, so I appreciate your patience. I understand that people have traveled really far to come here today and their partners, and they were hoping to enjoy, but we can only do
It's
so
really
much.
tight.
Our
It's gonna
hands
be
are really
tight.
tied. I'm trying our best here. We even limited our staff.
I know.
We've like
We
down to
made
the
some
bare
cuts.
bones. Like,
Bare bones staff going.
we're doing the best.
I
that we
can't
can.
go. No, sorry.
We tried to get rid of the captain, but
That's
that
right,
didn't go
that's
over
right.
well.
No.
But that's great. So
Yeah,
after we're all done here, we have we can, if you haven't already picked up your bracelets, as Sandy mentioned, everybody's gonna have a bracelet, and that's how you'll access the boat. You'll check in with us starting at 7:30 just to confirm your name again and make sure that your name is on our list for the bracelet. We'll check you off. The only other thing is the boat leaves the Halifax waterfront, which is on the cable wharf. I think the address is 1751 Lower Water Street, but it's the cable wharf, the big tall ship called the Tall Ship Silva. That's the one that we're going to be on this evening. So, and it isn't covered. There is a small covered spot. So just make sure you dress for the weather. That's all.
So the boat cruise starts at 8, but as Leanne said, we need you there at 7:30. They make a big production of putting up the sails, and it is one of the tall ships in the world when they do that tall ships thing. So they make a big deal when they put up the sails, and then they want everybody on the boat and ready to leave at 8. So trust me, we've had years where people are running, but once we're pulled up and we leave, you can't get on the boat. So get there by 7:30, get in the lineup, get your ticket, and get on the boat and watch the sails go up. So I hope this was helpful for everybody. Were there any questions left that did not get answered?
Thank you, everyone. Thank Mardocs. And that is it for 2025.
Yeah, welcome, welcome.
Have a great, great residency, and we will see you during exam time.
And you have time to, you can always reach out to Mardocs with your questions if you think of anything later.
Yes.
Here, Charles.